Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports back in the video today. And today, Miami Heat small forward Josh Richardson. It has been announced that Josh Richardson will miss the rest of the season due to shoulder surgery. This is some tough news for the Miami Heat. I mean, it's not like injury news where it's like, oh my God, our season's over. How will we ever recover from Josh Richardson out for the season? Oh my God, it's all, what are we going to do? It's not like that, but Josh Richardson, what he brings, he's been a great role player and, a good bench scorer for this Miami Heat team this season. And has stepped up at times when the Heat have had injury problems, and I think that's something that's been a problem at times this year for sure for Miami. Josh Richardson is averaging 10 points per game. He's averaging 3 rebounds per game, 2.5 assists per game, and he's shooting 35% from 3. So it's not like he's doing nothing. He's not, we all know he's not the center core piece of that team, but he is doing some good things off the bench. I mean, his last couple games with the Heat were a little bit rough. His last game, he only played 7 minutes because he got hurt, had a shoulder injury on February 11th, a couple weeks ago against the Boston Celtics. That was the day of the Super Bowl. I remember that game. And now I think about it, I remember, seeing that alert that Josh Richardson had a shoulder injury. I didn't think it'd be that serious where he'd have to miss the rest of the season. But, I think this type of injury for, the Heat, I think this does, it means something because, look, if you look at the Miami Heat, team last year, the team that made it to the finals, they ran off of a deep rotation in the playoffs, a rotation off the bench that could score the basketball. Off the bench, they had Kyle Lowry, they had Duncan Robinson, and they had Caleb Martin coming off the bench. And sometimes it would actually change because sometimes we would see Caleb Martin in the starting lineup, in the playoffs. The Eastern Conference Finals, most of the series, we saw Caleb Martin starting, but then the finals, things kind of changed, and then Kevin Love would end up coming off the bench, but then Kevin Love started to start more in the finals. The Heat made a bunch of adjustments in that series, and I think they tried to use it to their advantage. Never really worked. That's why they lost in 5 games. But I feel like Josh Richardson could have been a decent piece for the Heat to have off the bench in the playoffs in their rotation. Just unfortunate that he's going to be out for the season now. But this is not like news for the Heat where it's shattering. Oh my God, it's over. I think injury news that is shattering that we just saw happen today is Karl-Anthony Towns. And if you're thinking, how is this, how would the Timberwolves be freaking out? They're the 1 seed. They have the best defense in the NBA. Why would they be worried? I'll tell you right now, getting to the Timberwolves just for, because I was thinking about when I said that, this injury is not the end of the world for the Miami Heat. I feel like the Karl-Anthony Towns injury, it's not the end of the world for the Timberwolves, but I don't think it's good for them at all with him having a torn meniscus. Obviously, we'll see Joel Embiid return quick, and I'm talking about because that's what Joel Embiid had, and I think he'll be hopefully he'll be healthy once he returns from his torn meniscus. I'm not worried about that. I think once Karl-Anthony Towns gets back, he'll be back in a month. Right before the playoffs start. Playoffs start April 20th. So if it's an exact month, he'd be back 2 weeks before the playoffs. He'll probably be a little bit after. He'll probably be back for the last maybe 2 to 4 games of the regular season. Possibly. That might be a stretch. I'm not worried about him coming back and being rusty. I would say, look at the Timberwolves right now in the standings. They're the 1 seed. They're barely holding on to that 1 seed though. Then they have a half game lead over the Thunder and a 1 game lead over the Nuggets. So, through this time where Karl-Anthony Towns is injured, obviously he's not their number 1 option, but he is an all-star. Anthony Edwards is the number 1 option, but when Anthony Edwards is not feeling it, they go to Karl-Anthony Towns and they can rely on him offensively and shooting the basketball. And obviously they still have Rudy Gobert, as a big man, and then you have Anthony Edwards. But I don't know. I think losing Karl-Anthony Towns is enough for you to fall down to the 3 seed. And I think the Timberwolves need that home that home court advantage. I really do. I'm not going to say if they're the 2 or 3 seed, they can't make it all the way, because I think they can. But I really 100% believe the Timberwolves need to be the 1 seed. If they want to have a good chance of making it all the way, they need that home court advantage throughout the whole part of the playoffs. Well, I don't know about the NBA Finals, because Boston's probably gonna if they make it, that's assuming if they make it, but probably Boston will have the best record in the league. But in the West, Minnesota, I think if they want to have a good chance, I think they need to have the best record in the West. And I don't know. I think Denver and OKC very well might and very well possibly will catch on to Minnesota while Karl-Anthony Towns is out, and taking advantage of that. But I think I'd spend a lot of time on that, but that's an example of an injury where you start to worry. This Josh Richardson injury, I think, thank God for the Heat, they have a deep bench. I mean, you have so many different pieces. You have. I mean, obviously you have your starting guys, and I think this Heat team has grown. I mean, if you really think about it, they really didn't lose anybody from that core last year. They really only lost Gabe Vincent, who went to the Lakers. What has he done? Played 3 games this year. That's it. He hasn't done anything. So, and they got Terry Rozier. They traded for him, but they had to give up Lowry. They added in Patty Mills throughout the buyout market. So, yes, they lose Richardson, but honestly, I wouldn't say the Heat are as good as they were last year, but I don't think they've lost that much. Well, yes, actually they did lose. I forgot about Max Strus. They did lose Max Strus from that team, so they lost Max Strus and Gabe Vincent. But outside of Strus and Gabe Vincent, they got Terry Rozier back. They've added in other pieces like Patty Mills and other players. So, and some of their younger players have have gotten better roles. I mean, we've seen Nikola Jovic become a more solid player. They also drafted such a talented kid in the draft last year in Yami Jaskes Jr. So I don't think there's anything to worry about for the Miami Heat except more injuries. This Heat team cannot suffer more injuries. They have to stay healthy in the playoffs. If the Heat can stay healthy in the playoffs and Jimmy can do what we've seen him do throughout the postseason, almost every damn postseason, the Heat are one of my favorites to make it to the NBA Finals out of the Eastern Conference side. I think out of Boston, I like Boston, I like Cleveland, but if Miami's playing the way they did last year, if Jimmy's playing the way he did last year and the rest of the team is healthy, you'd have Tyler Hero back, because remember, they didn't have him. They didn't have him last year, so they'd be getting him back as well. I think the Heat, if they're healthy, they have a better chance than they did last year. I really do. But healthy, that's gonna have to be the case with them. Remember your thoughts in the comment section, and peace out.